Hey everybody, it's ProcureTech time. Thanks for being here on the road to the ProcureTech Cup. It's all the show that's all about showing you procurement professionals the art of the possible with procurement technology. This is episode 23 of the 2025 season. Today we've got ProcurementIQ on the show, and I'm very excited as they will be demoing their completely revamped solution. So ProcurementIQ has been around quite a long time in this space, and so I'm really excited to see what they've got in store for you, for the market, in this next iteration of their platform and the service that they provide. So that being said, let me bring on our co-host here, Gabe Perez. How's it going this week, Gabe?
How you doing, Joel? Good to see you. No, the week's going good. I'm very excited about today. We've got a lot of functionality-driven solutions, but I think the reality is people are still buying based on legacy ways and legacy data sets and analyst reports. So it's something that comes up all the time is how do I know I'm buying at the right price? You know, a lot of procurement professionals can be proud about that, but the reality is it's an ever-changing area, especially in the economies that we have. So I'm excited to see ProcurementIQ's new solution and how it can really help up the game of procurement when it comes to making data-driven decisions. So it's a discussion that we have a lot in the field with our customers.
And the other thing that makes me think of is like not supplier discovery, but like confirming that you have like the top players in your geography or your space, your industry that you're looking for, right? That's often like that fear of missing out on one of those big players. So absolutely.
When I think on the flip side, it also gives you a perspective of some of the up and coming players and some of the people that you may not have normally thought of. So we'll see what's shown today in the demo.
Absolutely. And so just before we get to that with ProcurementIQ, a reminder here, some housekeeping that we are on the journey to the ProcureTech Cup. So there's about 4 more demos after this week. And then we get into the tournament that starts on March 24th on LinkedIn. So make sure you're subscribed to my profile, hitting the bell if you want to be notified as the rounds come out during those 2 weeks. It's going to be really, really great. We've got the full roster of solutions, which I'll be sharing next week as well. So really, really excited to have that coming up. And there's still lots to do before then. So I will be hard at work making sure that we're ready. So let me just bring in Lyle Dixon-Smith here. So he's the Senior Vice President of Business Development at ProcurementIQ. I think you've been around a long time, right, Lyle?
It's been a while, 15 years this year with the organization.
Yeah, so we have the right guy on the phone.
Gabe, nice to see you.
Good to see you, Lyle.
Great stuff. So just to ensure that everybody's on the same page here, reminder of the agenda. Lyle's going to give us a quick company overview of what ProcurementIQ is, what their unique value proposition is, ideal customer profile, give you some theoretical base before we get into the demo. Then we'll get into the demo, make sure that we get a good overview of what the solution can do. We'll get to the Let's Get Real segment, right? So demos are always pretty, but how do we actually make this work in your business? And then we'll map it to the ProcureTech market map as we do every week, so you see how it fits in versus other solutions that have been on the show. So that being said, Lyle, I will let you take it away.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I think one of the things that we need to just cover is who we are very briefly. So I'll try not to bore everybody with that. But it is important to know that ProcurementIQ was founded in 2013. And we were actually founded originally as part of IBIS World Procurement. So for those of you who don't know, we're part of a much larger organization, which was founded in 1971 and has spread all over the world. And almost 55 years later, we now offer industry research and procurement intelligence to thousands of people around the world, helping them make better business decisions quickly. But ultimately, why ProcurementIQ exists is that a large number of these clients that we work with were looking for information specific to products and services in the categories that they were working with. So this specifically helps them to provide value to areas like strategic planning, so wave planning, areas like management, stakeholder engagement, supplier engagement, and all of this is this category intelligence that helps them to put together category strategies, look at go-to-market strategies, putting together a statement of work. So really, where does this add value in the world of the procurement professionals? Well, it's a lot about the speed to market. And by that, I really mean speed to information, speed to the stakeholder, being able to enhance those discussions. So one of the things that our clients always talk about is How do I know my team's really adding and contributing value to those discussions, those decisions? And this information is almost like having somebody right there next to you saying, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And ultimately, as part of that, it also helps to support recommendations that are made internally with facts. The other thing that happens a lot in terms of folks coming back and saying, well, we don't have enough information when we engage potentially with suppliers. So a large part of this is to help level that playing field when you're sitting across somebody in that negotiation. So the question is, how do we do that? Well, quite simply, we have this unequal breadth of coverage. And when I say breadth of coverage, I really mean it is across hundreds of categories, but it's also very deep into that. And the other aspect, which is very important, is updated frequently. And the other thing that's very important from our client's perspective is that we are a neutral third party. So it really is objective analysis, unbiased. And the other thing is that we use a lot of technology to help us collect and collect data. But as part of that process, we also have a team of analysts. Those analysts are there to verify the data sources. And one of the things we were talking about a little bit earlier was also the suppliers. And we also have an entire supply database covering thousands of different suppliers, SWOT analysis, competitive positioning as well, for everything inside of IT and outside of IT. I'm sure we're familiar with players in that space. So that's just a bit of an idea around what we do, how we do it, and who is the product for? Well, it's quite simple, really. It's for anybody in procurement, right? So any procurement professional, whether you're sort of just starting out, whether you've been there for ages, whether you're dealing with a highly reactive situation, or whether you're looking at a category management scenario, it really is very specific to that world. And then the other thing that I want to touch on today, and we'll be having a look at it shortly, is that it's a bit of an announcement to the marketplace. We're going to be integrating with Arbus World's platform. And why is that important? Well, for procurement clients, it's going to introduce a wealth of new resources. And it's also going to be essentially a unified research ecosystem. And that's for those both leveraging the Ibis World industry product and the ProcurementIQ intelligence tools. It's going to allow sharing of intelligence. We're going to be able to lean on the Ibis World research and industry knowledge, but we're also going to be able to create that through a lens looking at it from procurement perspective, which is important. So additional analysis, data teams, IT expertise. And the other really cool thing is we've got this innovative roadmap that's taking us in a direction which is really supporting our clients. We've been working with our clients to get there, and it's going to help us to enable future product enhancements at scale while improving the site navigation and search functionality. So that's a really quick overview around the organization. And I'm quite happy just to dive into the product itself, if that's okay with you guys.
Sure. I just had a question, Lyle. Should viewers be thinking about, I think about like investment analysis firms, and like you have market analysis that follow a certain companies and like give you invest or divest type recommendations. Like, should people be thinking about ProcurementIQ in such a manner, but like for a commodity or a category specific analyst that really knows a market and is producing content based on data sources that are coming in, and is really, you're cultivating experts in specific verticals, specific industries, specific categories?
We cultivate a lot of expertise in specific categories. So ultimately, this information is designed for an individual to be able to quickly log in and seamlessly move from one section to another and understand what are some of the key factors that are influencing that marketplace, specifically so they can either prepare themselves for that, engage with that stakeholder, have very intelligent conversations, and help them realize that there are changes coming. It could be ESG trends, it could be technological changes, it could be anything in that marketplace to position them much better from a competitive perspective in their marketplace.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, let's see it. This sounds great.
Cool. No worries. So I'll just go through this very briefly. Hopefully you can see everything. I might even just blow this up ever so slightly. So you'll see that we've still got the ProcurementIQ logo. We've got our Arbus World parent company here. So when folks log in, they'll be able to have their own sort of homepage. But what we're really going to dive into today is just a couple of aspects, right? So we're going to look at a report, an example report. This is just a prototype. None of this is live on the website yet, but it will be. And while there's an enormous amount of information, unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all of it. What we are going to be covering, though, is some of the enhancement that we've made, and I'm very excited about it, but so are our clients. So we've been doing this in conjunction with our clients things we're going to cover today are things going to be like the key takeaways, which you can see on the screen here now. We're going to be looking at things like market pricing, some of the pricing factors, occupational wage rates, going back to what Gabe was saying earlier around what is the cost? Do we know what the price of this is? So we're all going to be talking specifically about that today. So as I go and have a look at this, we look at the specific area in this chapter, and hopefully that's coming up for everybody. The key takeaways, we're putting significant context around this, behind what it means. And why is that important? Is because a lot of folks are looking for actionable intelligence. So what does it mean? So if you're talking about things like rising inflation, just as a specific example on the page, what is the impact of it going to be? And what are potentially some of the things that need to be done? So it's also going to start to providing sort of thoughts, sparking an idea. What can I do? Should I have a conversation around this? What are the types of things that could influence it? That's fairly key. As we scroll down a little bit, we're going to touch through some different sections, and you'll see almost market pricing and a 3-year forecast as well. So we do provide forecasting analysis, which is very important for our clients. One of the things that we're really changing as we scroll down is how the market pricing actually looks. So I'm just going to stop there for a second so you can see that at the bottom there's a range that says 50 to 500, and there's an average price, which is helpful. But what we've been working with the market to do is to really break that down significantly. So one of the major changes is being able to break that pricing down into these areas. Why is that important? Because we've expanded that market pricing data. Now you're more easily able to find and compare prices that are relevant to you, right? So the products and services that are involved. And when I think about projects that clients do, they have a look at this information and they say, well, we're going to have planning in there and project management, and there's also cloud consulting. So what are the different service offerings going to look like? So when you're thinking about products, you can think about vacuum cleaners, you can think about HVAC, you can think about anything. There will be different products and services or different offerings, like for example, in this area, which is IT consulting. So it really helps to create more price points and greater data transparency into that market pricing.
Yeah. So go ahead. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So this is really rich data, right? That goes not only to the category level, but the subcategory level. Services is a very general category. If I'm a sourcing professional and I have a platform where I'm doing sourcing in, whether it's a specialized sourcing platform or a category management platform or source to pay platform, is this something that embeds in other tools? Because, this is really good data, but I might need it in context of me building out my RFP or asking suppliers or analyzing results. Do you have partnerships or do you have ways to integrate to other tools?
Yeah, we do have partnerships. We have partnerships with Cooper. We also have integration opportunities, APIs into other systems so that you can actually measure and put that information and data alongside of it. There's a range of ways that we do that. And we have clients using APIs currently to help them do that because they want to work from a centralized source. It's also part of the way to get folks using the tool, right?
Great. Sorry, Joel, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, for me, it's just like I'm putting myself in the shoes of like an IT category manager or IT services. I know I have big four consulting spend on a number of, IT projects and I'm able to forecast out my projects. So I'm just trying to project myself as being able to come in here and contract renewal discussions, rate card modification discussions, statement of work extensions, those types of things. Like, I see this as being very valuable as a benchmark, right? A starting point for those discussions.
Yeah, no, it really is. And the other cool thing is that when you start to look at something like this, and even if as you scroll down ever so slightly, one should start thinking of these as pieces of a puzzle to start creating a bigger picture. So we take in the external window in the world, everything that you've got internally, conversations you've already had, and you're able to sort of gather and put together things like pricing factors because it's going to change, right? I'm going to be putting together a statement of work. There might be multiple roles that are involved and multiple service offerings, and then the different factors that will influence the pricing as well. So it really starts to help to build up this significant solid base level of sort of a cost model, right? What is it like? What should cost be for something like this project or a specific product or service? So it goes from the simplicity right to the most complex. And as we scroll down even further, one of the things that our clients talk about a lot is, well, how do I know about the wages that go into it? So we've actually got and developed additional areas around geographic wages, and this will have a drop down. You'll be able to move down and see in a heat map where all of this comes to play. But what happens is as you scroll further, what else we've expanded in is to be able to say that there are multiple different occupations. So this really starts to help understand the market labor dynamics and help to benchmark those supplier costs, kind of what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and you know, you preemptively answered the question Reed Stevens has, which is market-based pricing or market pricing based on national prices? Can I narrow it down to specific regions? I think we have the answer on screen right now, right?
Yeah, we definitely do, and there are those regions. Perhaps it might be worthwhile just also diving into an occupational profile.
And then before you do, quick question, you know, do you go to the level, and you might not because there could be some issues with this, but let's say you're using one of the big four and you want to make sure that the rates that you're getting from the big four are rates that potentially are other people, because, you know, consulting has a big range. If you're going from a big four, you're going from a one-man shop like Joel, you're going to have a different range. And you want to make sure that you're not paying too much just because you've been a long time customer and there's executive relationships. So is there a way to break that down further or not? Or is that too sensitive?
There is. So while we offer an enormous amount of valuable and actionable intelligence off the shelf, we also have another service which is called Custom IQ. And that is specific for organizations who are looking to understand some very niche areas. And it's very, very specific when it comes to areas of operational criticality or significant areas of spend where they know that they need to dive in deeper. And so they can come to us and say, look, this is where we've got to, but these are the variables and factors that we want to look at. How deep can you get into that?
So outside of services, would a good example be on the direct side where every single margin 0.5%, you know, matters? Is that an area that you can go deeper on to make sure that they're not leaving anything on the table?
Absolutely. We can focus on both the sort of corporate indirect space and every, you know, all that non-production related stuff. We think about it from a manufacturing perspective, but we can certainly dive into the direct side to help understand what are those changes as well.
Great, great.
And Lara, we'll let you go. I know Gabe and I are getting excited here and ask you a bunch of
No, it's great. I love the questions, right? I mean, you don't want to listen to me talk all the time, right? Surely. So, yeah, so maybe we just have a look at this occupation profile, because I knew there was a question there. And did that come from Reed Stevens, I believe?
Yep.
So one of the things that we do have is the ability to dive down into those occupation profiles even further. So you see we've got the geographic wage rates that I mentioned there, and this is now should start to formulate in everybody's mind that we're going to start using different sort of sections of this, and you can include the occupation profiles. By the way, I did mention earlier this is a prototype, but I have set it up so that we can dive into these things, but it will be hyperlinked when this is live on the website. So the occupation profile, for example, this gets really cool. And why I say that is something that our clients have fed back to us specifically, is we're creating an easier way to navigate and find wage data. So it's going to be searchable from the homepage. You can literally type in software developer and it'll bring up this type of scenario. And then it'll break it down into the geographic areas. And Reed, just thinking about your question, as we scroll down, you'll be able to actually compare wages across different regions. So this can be used in multiple ways, really. You know, the use case for this is either you've got a project and you're working on that project, or perhaps you're looking to bring on your own labor. And if it happens to be one that's remote, this gives you a lot of opportunity to think about and compare different areas and really budget appropriately for that type of labor or additional bodies. So just as an idea and a follow-on to what you were saying.
Yeah, you get to have that build versus buy discussion with yourself up front, right?
Exactly right. Thank you for saying that. Should have mentioned that. Should have said build versus buy myself. Exactly what it is, right? So one of the other things that happens while we do this, I'm just going to go back to this report that we're on. Hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, I'll just click there and scroll back down. But so as we look at the pricing factors and then the geographic wage rates that I mentioned, I'm scrolling through this quickly because I'm getting to a specific section over here. One of the things that we've also built out, which is significant, is the cost structure benchmarks. So everyone's trying to understand what are the cost structures within the organization. So we're going to be doing a more granular version of this, and it's already started to be used, and it's linking directly to relevant indices. So you can see over here the cost component. What we had before was a little bit shorter. Now we've expanded this and broken it down so that we have this ability to granularize that cost structure and then link it directly to relevant indices. A lot of our clients are doing it at the moment in their contracts. So this is another way that we're improving time to value for our clients. So we're doing it for them. It also helps them to really sort of negotiate leverage. And remember early on, I was talking about the pieces of the puzzle. This gives them an opportunity to be able to think about the forecast. So we've got those proprietary forecasts, which are regression-based analysis, weighted analysis, etc., on pricing and forecast of that. So they can start to combine this information with these indices to help them, directly link those indices doing that. The other thing that's important, which goes directly into this, is that there are price drivers. So if I click, for example, on this driver over here by wages, it actually takes you to a price driver profile and enables you to get a bit of a sense of what's going on and greater insight really into the supplier cost trends that are influencing it. We've got roughly about 200 now. Again, part of what I was saying earlier on, there's going to be additional resources. We're going to start moving out towards about a couple thousand different wage and cost drivers with this sort of setup and data to be able to help folks really understand the underlying costs and what's influencing and affecting their supply chain and their suppliers.
It's very cool. Very cool. And I know you're showing us a prototype, so I'm sure a lot of people on the line are wondering, like, when are they going to be able to have access to this, right?
I think that's really the $1 million question. We're aiming for sort of the middle to the end of the year, but I'm not going to make any promises. We're going to go live as quickly as we can. There's a few things that we need to iron out, but we're going to move there very, very quickly. But we're also very happy to help our existing clients in any way we can to obtain some of this information.
Yeah, because a lot of this data, I mean, you already have, right? You showed us where you're pushing
Yeah.
deeper, but it's always, there's a portion of what you showed us today that people already have access to.
There is, exactly. So a lot of folks are going to say this, but late summer should be an early, it should be really where we're aiming for. But a lot of folks are going to have access to a lot of the information and data, and I can see that we've already got clients who'll be chomping at the bit trying to get access to this information. So we're pushing as quickly as we can. But as I'm sure you can imagine, part of the move to the IBIS integration with that platform is to be able to roll these types of things out at scale, which is enabling us to move a lot quicker.
All right. So that looks all really nice, but I think it's time to get real.
So some really good information there. And I know there's a lot of depth even without the new release. And the new release is just adding more and more layers. One of the things that comes to mind is having good data is one thing, but being able to make it actionable and effectively adopt it. There's different varying levels of procurement maturity out there. And your new release goes to levels that, quite frankly, most procurement professionals haven't had that level of detail. So how are you seeing currently, and how do you predict in the future customers effectively adopting this so they can go back after they do their job and say, because I had this data, we were paying this, I've now negotiated per state or per region or however it may be. How do you see effective adoption of this? Because data is nothing without driving actionable outcomes out of it and using those insights in that way.
Gabe, it's one of those ones that I wish I just had a simple, easy answer to. And the reality is, as you talk about the evolution of procurement teams, it does change. The ability to create a business case and to be able to adopt a tool like this will change. Early on, when you're a smaller organization, perhaps, and you're just starting out procurement, and you're starting to engage with internal stakeholders and literally try and sell yourself as this internal value-added service that's going to enable them to do things while they focus on their top-line activities. One of the business cases for this is to be able to say, well, you've got to do more with less, right? You've got these people that have arrived. There's a whole range of categories. It's unlikely that you've got the luxury of having a specialist in every single category. And so we all know we're human beings and we make mistakes. So what's better? We're going to have information that's going to help us deliver and mitigate those risks, but also help us to transform the organization as a whole. And the way to do that is to improve the contribution in those discussions. That's at that sort of really early stage where we're trying to sort of make friends with everybody, create the relationships with stakeholders in those different business units. And then you've got somebody on the furthest end of the scale that have already done that. They've already rolled out ERP systems and systems like Coupa, and they're already tracking their spend data, and they haven't really quite taken that step to looking at that external window of the world in a formalized way. And that's a little bit easier at that point because the organization is really bought into it. They know that they want data, and perhaps some of them are tired of driving down the highway while looking through their rearview mirror, knowing that if they don't have a window on the world, it could cause some trouble, especially what we've seen in the last 5 years. I mean, can you imagine? So ultimately, there's a variety of different ways we can create business cases, and it also depends on the way organizations buy. What is the reason that somebody out there is going to sign a check to say this is great information, or why would I choose this over anybody else? Is very dependent on each of those organizations. And one of the things we love to do is get under the hood, understand what makes them tick, where those specific challenges are, and then help them create a customized business case depending on each organization where they're at in their stage, and also, from a leadership perspective, what are their expectations?
Great. Well, I could ask a million more questions, but just looking at the time, I'll pass it back to you, Joel.
All right, sounds good. So let's move to this last section here, the ProcureTech Cup market map. So Lyle, you showed us really the depth of the platform, and it's not really transactional or you're not trying to get at executing a process specifically, right? So we put you in the market intelligence category outside the market map here, but would you speak to how you see yourself fitting in the rest of the ecosystem?
Absolutely. I think where you've highlighted it already, it's very specific to the category management. So any organization that considers themselves to be a category management organization, or at least a hybrid of that strategic sourcing and category management area, we fit very comfortably into that. As part of that strategic sort of sourcing aspect, we're designed to fit along each stage. We talked about it earlier, and then also with that contract and price. What specifically am I paying? What should I be paying? There are other aspects of the tool that talk about SLAs and contract clauses, which is very specific to sort of managing not just preparing for the cost and the budget and going to market, but also making sure that the contract looks spot on. So absolutely, there's a whole range of areas that we fit along the way in that area, specifically in that market intelligence.
And same thing at the bottom of the slide around like supplier relationship management, right? Like you're able to use that to validate certain pieces of data, whether it's headquarters addresses, et cetera, and any risk drivers that you should be thinking about in your TPRM processes, or even performance management, right? Is this an acceptable performance when looked at other benchmarks of competitors?
Yeah, vendor qualification. Where do they fit in this, and how are we going to measure that continually? There's a huge raft of information about considering what's best in class when engaging with that specific marketplace.
Very cool. And well, you showed us kind of what the future holds for you from a road mapping standpoint, but how are you thinking about integrating with the rest of the ProcureTech market and making that information available? I know you touched on APIs, but are you going after specific things?
Yeah, we're always interested in developing and often having conversations with other potential partners around these types of technologies. The other thing is we're always constantly engaging with our client base and others in the marketplace who aren't yet customers. We hope they will be, about what they're looking for. And everything that we're doing and everything we have been doing isn't just thought up. I mean, we do think about things and we do come up with great ideas, but we really want to know what the market wants. And so we are very attuned to the marketplace and making sure that we are delivering product that is relevant to them. And so there's going to be a whole new range of things. One of the things I didn't even get a chance to touch on today is creating a dashboard for those sitting at the top level to be able to see what's happening, what are the key trends across their portfolio, so that they can make decisions for wave planning and for the strategy of the future of the business, and saying, well, where are we going to cut costs this year without actually knowing that information? We're going to be able to provide them hands-on intelligence, be able to say, right, this is what we can do this year, and it's going to be supported with regression-based analysis and factual data.
Well, that's very cool. Like I see a CEO sitting in his office and like procurement has used ProcurementIQ to like kind of tailor a feed to him, right? On like the most important cost drivers and the categories that are most important for the business, which is often one of the jobs that we ask procurement to do, right? Come and give us a quarterly update on what's happening with our key categories and the cost drivers for the rest of the business.
Yeah.
Right? So, very cool. So Lyle, thanks so much for coming on the show today. I was just wondering, if people want to learn more about ProcurementIQ, want to get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, realistically, the easiest way is go to ProcurementIQ.com. Send us a message through there, book a demo with us. We're very happy to have a chat with anybody. Also, have a look around the site. There's a lot of available resources there to help find the quite valuable.
Beautiful. And I know you're on LinkedIn. I see Embry Davis in the chats on LinkedIn, so I'm sure
Embry's
people can
there,
reach out directly there too.
Definitely. Sounds great. Charles,
Awesome.
Gabe, thank you so much. And,
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Gabe Perez and myself also work in the consulting space in ProcureTech. So if you need a partner for advisory work, for implementation work on the managed services side, RiseNow has the firepower to help you there as well. So if you need help on that digital transformation journey, you know where to find us. You can scan the QR code here if you want to follow the journey to the ProcureTech Cup. It starts in 4.5, 5 weeks. So make sure you're along for the ride, which is a lot of fun. We'll wish really good luck to Procurement IQ, and we'll see everybody again next week. Bye, everybody.